Limbus company's 6th Walpurgisnacht is finally out, and it's brought some massive upgrades to 2 of the 7 main teams in the game. In my last video I've talked about how you can make the most out of In the Name of Love and Hate Don Quixote and her ego, but today it's time to look at the real queen of this event. A sinking charge unit so strong that you wouldn't believe the numbers she's putting up. Of course, I'm talking about the sword sharpened with tears Rodion, or Knight Rodya for short. This unit has quite a robust kit, with 2 sets of skills and 4 passives. However, once you fully understand her, you can also see how incredibly powerful this identity is. In today's video, I aim to help you with exactly that. We'll start by looking at her kit, and I'll try to be brief with that. Right after, we'll get into how the new Rodya performs in combat and how you want to play her for maximum efficiency. But before we start, I've got an announcement for you. Have you ever wanted to talk to me, or to other viewers of this channel, as well as people from all around the world that are interested in Limbus company? Well, now you can. Introducing the Barbershop, my brand new community Discord server, filled with Barber Otes, and more Barber Otes. Here you can talk to people, share memes, art, and... do I really need to explain to you what a Discord server is? Just go join it. Link is in the description, in the pinned comment, in the newest post, and in my channel description. Basically, it's everywhere. Oh, and also subscribe to the channel, please. Anyways, let's get back to the new identity. We'll start with her kit. Knight Rodya is an identity with a lot of health, high speed, and a high defense level. These stats remind me of someone, I just can't quite recall who. Her sin affinity spread consists of Gloom, Envy and Pride, with a Gloom defense. Rodya has 2 sets of skills, so I will be going over each skill in both of its forms before moving on to the next one. The basic version of her skill 1 clashes at up to 15 power, gains coin power from sinking and clash power from protecting sword. Its coins inflict 2 sinking and give Rodion deep tears, with the gain increasing based on protecting sword. Rodya's negative skill 1 rolls up to 13, makes Rodya lose 7 SP on use, inflicts 3 sinking and scales its deep tears gain with piercing sword instead. Her basic skill 2 clashes at up to 21, gains coin power and clash power from sinking and protecting sword respectively, and at 15 or more deep tears, it consumes 5 stacks to deal 15% more damage. The coins of the skill inflict 3 sinking potency and 2 count, while also giving Rodion deep tears scaling with protecting sword. The negative version of her skill 2 rolls up to 19, gains final power from sinking, makes Rodya lose 10 SP and consumes deep tears in the same fashion as the base skill 2, but gains a larger damage bonus. The coins of the skill inflict a total of 5 sinking potency and 2 count, while also giving Rodya deep tears scaling with piercing sword once again. Rodya's skill 3 is Arcana Pierce, and it clashes at up to 29 power. The skill gains coin power from sinking, clash power from protecting sword, and at 10 or more deep tears, it consumes deep tears to deal more damage and gain base power. If the skill kills the enemy, half of the deep tears consumed by this effect are refunded back to Rodion. The coins of Arcana Pierce inflict 3 sinking count, and scale their sinking potency infliction with protecting sword. Also, if Rodya has tear sharpened, or if she consumed the effect with the last coin, it deals 20% more damage. The negative version of the third skill is Arcana, Tear and Pierce. This skill rolls up to 28 power and gains final power from sinking on the enemy, while also getting base power in the same way as the basic skill 3 does, with the damage buff from deep tears consumed also being doubled. On use, Rodya loses 15 SP, and after attack, she gets half the consumed deep tears back if the target is killed. The coins of Arcana, Tear and Pierce inflict 4 sinking count and 5 potency, and the last coin gets reused if it consumes Tear Sharpened. As for the Knight's defense, the basic skill is a clashable guard, which rolls up to 15, gains coin power from protecting sword, gives shield based on Rodya's sanity, and also gives deep tears on use. But, crucially, this skill is the thing that gives Rodya her Tear Sharpened effect. At turn end, Rodya loses 15 SP to gain 1 stack, as long as she doesn't already have 3. If she already has stacks of this effect, she loses 15 more SP per stack of Tear Sharpened. The negative defense is a clashable counter that rolls up to 14, gains final power by piercing sword, gives Rodya deep tears and Tear Sharpened in the same way as the guard, and inflicts 3 sinking with its coins. Now it's time to move on to Rodya's numerous passives. Her first passive gives her Blessing at 0 or more SP, and Despair when she's below 0. The effects dictate which skill set she's using. When Rodya gains charge, she gets Deep Tears instead, and Deep Tears does not interact with charge potency. Rodya's second passive provides her with some anti-panic defenses. Her SP does not drop below 0 from her skill effects, ally support passives, the Tear Sharpened effect, and ally death. Additionally, if she's about to drop to minus 45 SP due to sanity damage, she stays at minus 44 instead. This only procs once per encounter, and only applies to SP damage. Rodya's third passive is Break, Tear and Pierce. It allows her to convert piercing sword stacks into sinking potency infliction when hitting an enemy with her skills. If she's hitting with her last coin, all stacks of piercing sword are consumed at once. Also, when Rodya has 3 stacks of Tear Sharpened, before she hits the final coin of her skill, she consumes the stacks to inflict 3 sinking potency and count, while also dealing more damage. After activating this effect, Rodya's SP is set to 30, if she was in the negatives beforehand. And her fourth and final combat passive requires 3 Gloom and 3 Pride to activate. This one allows Rodya to take less damage in the Blessing form and deal more damage in the Despair form, scaling with how far her sanity is from 0. Rodya's support passive requires 5 Gloom to activate, and it buffs up the earliest deployed ally's negative coin skills. This kit is insanely long, and we're not done yet, as we need to look at the unique effects Rodya works with before moving on to her in combat. Deep Tears is a form of unique charge that does not increase its potency. Blessing is the positive state effect. It gives Rodya 1 protecting sword per 8 SP at turn start. Inflicts sinking after a clash once per turn, inflicts sinking when Rodya is hit once per turn, and further increases the sinking inflicted with these effects with more SP. Despair is the negative state effect, and it gives Rodya piercing sword based on SP instead. The effect also inflicts sinking count after a clash and when the first coin of a skill lands on an enemy. The sinking count infliction scales with SP. As for the swords, Protecting Sword gives Rodion defense level up and increases aggro, while Piercing Sword gives offense level up and actually decreases aggro. Tear Sharpened is the final effect, and it gives Rodya 5 deep tears at turn start. It gives 5 more if it's at 3 stacks. Also, Rodya deals more damage and loses SP every turn based on the stack. If she is in the Blessing state, the Knight gets Clash power up, and if she's in Despair, she gets Pierce power up. The max stack of the effect is 3. Phew, 1300 words in, and we're only done with the kit. Got to love Season 6 identities, am I right? Anyways, now we can finally move on to her performance in combat. First and foremost, Rodion is a charge and sinking identity, and unlike Dawn, who gets cosmetic effects, Rodya's sinking infliction is actually good. Really good, in fact. This makes her a unit that you can use in both charge and sinking. Now, which team should you go for? Well, it's quite obviously sinking, as that team is just better. But if you have both the magical girls and you want to build charge, she slots nicely into that team as well. Notably, she gets fairly good unconditional power and doesn't over-rely on sinking in her conditionals, making her a strong generalist too. We won't be focusing too much on Rodion in charge today, as it seems like that is her secondary status effect. She doesn't even have long-term scaling with potency like the newer charge IDs do, so it's not like she benefits from charge support in a meaningful way. Besides, Rodion is far more impactful in sinking anyways. So, what does Rodion do in her best team? Well, her two forms fill very different roles on the squad, as the Blessing state makes Rodya tankier and allows her to draw aggro, while also buffing up her Clash power so she can fend off enemy attacks. In this form, Rodion focuses more on sinking potency infliction rather than count, and with enough SP she can consistently dish out 10 sinking per turn, rapidly increasing the stack. The Despair state, on the other hand, has the complete opposite values. Rodya loses aggro and starts dealing much more damage, while also focusing on sinking count infliction over potency due to the Despair effect. Or at least, that's how she was designed. In reality, the negative state of this identity is, once again, straight up better than the positive one. The reasons for that are multifold. First, tanking is generally just less impactful than dealing damage in this game, meaning that a form that's specialized for taking less damage will always be worse than the one that dishes damage out. The damage disparity is extra large due to the fact that a lot of the Blessing form's power comes as Clash power, and the damage boosts its skills get from deep tiers are lower than that of the Despair form. All the while, the positive form is naturally at a disadvantage due to the way negative coins operate. Basically, the damage dealing capabilities of the two forms are night and day. But the damage output is not the only metric in which the Despair form is superior. Remember how I said the Blessing form is focused on potency while Despair is focused on count? Well, that's not really the case. It's true that Blessing doesn't inflict much count, but can stack up a lot of potency. However, Despair just kind of does both. The Despair effect itself results in more sinking count being applied, but Rodya's third passive allows her to turn Piercing Sword into sinking potency infliction, which makes up for potency lost from not being in Blessing. With both the damage output and status infliction of Despair being better, there ends up not being a reason to have Rodya on Blessing, as there's genuinely almost no position in which you want to stay at high SP for a prolonged amount of time. Speaking of status infliction, I must inform you that the Despair status effect is currently bugged. The part of it that's supposed to inflict sinking count on hit with the first coin simply does not work, resulting in a loss of up to 3 sinking count each turn. And yet, even with such a monstrous debuff, the Despair form still provides a great deal of both sinking potency and count. As you can see, this identity is actually insanely powerful, and it's about time I moved on and started talking about how to use it in combat. As you might have guessed, Rodya is at her best when she's stuck in negative sanity numbers. So how do you go negative? Well, it's not anything complicated like Dawn's sanity shenanigans. All you need to do is press defense on turn 1. And congrats, you're now in the negatives. Additionally, while I'm comparing Rodya to Dawn, her kit does not have any compulsory state switch, meaning if you want to just stay negative, you can win rate after pressing defense once, and you will stay negative forever, with no further difficulties. However, if you really want to get the most out of Rodya, I wouldn't say this is the best approach. It works, but you can use more things. Notably, one effect that goes unused is Tear Sharpened. We can fix that. If you look closely at Rodya's negative skill 1 and counter, you will see that the counter is just the same thing, but better. This means you can easily slot it in whenever you have a skill 1 in the bottom slot. Pressing the counter allows Tear Sharpened to stack up. However, try not to be careless with it, as once you get 3 stacks, you will consume them with the last coin of any base attack skill. When you do get to 3 stacks, you want Rodya's skill 3 to be available next turn, allowing you to eat the stacks with that skill specifically. This allows you to reuse the final coin of Arcana Tear and Pierce for massive damage. And after that, Rodya is sent up into positive sanity. But you said positive sanity is bad. Yeah, I did, which is why we'll be trying our best to get back down as quickly as possible. And we can do that with the help of Ego. And you know exactly which Ego is perfect for this situation. Yeah, it's Rhyme Shank. This skill is perfectly fueled by Rodion's kit, and its corrosion version inflicts a whopping 10-8 sinking stack on the enemy in one use. If Rodya is still positive, you hit another Rhyme Shank for even more sinking. Plus, don't forget about Superbia. If you're a bit short on resources for the Ego, just get it through Durante. When playing like this, you can make use of Rodion's superior state by instantly dropping into the negatives and staying there for most of the fight. As soon as you hit Rodya's huge nuke, you can go up for air and sink yourself back down with a couple Rhyme Shanks, which also boost the sinking stack on the enemy in an insane way. And all you really needed to do is press defense a couple of times and also get Rhyme Shank to threat spin 4. It's as easy as that. No Envirez dark magic required, unlike with Dawn. And yeah, this is pretty much it. Knight of Despair Rodion is an identity that's easier to pilot than Queen of Hatred Dawn, despite having a book's worth of passives. And in addition to her being easier to use, she's also simply a stronger identity, as she has access to a great deal of sinking, deals immense single target damage, and synergizes perfectly with Rhyme Shank, a hugely influential sinking Ego skill. Honestly, this level of power is not anything new due to a certain someone, but the ratio of ease of use to strength might just be at the level of Mao Faust, with how easy this ID is to pilot, and how insanely rewarding she is at the same time. Just like I said in my last video, I don't think there's any point in me telling you whether you should pull for her. It's Walpurgisnacht, so everyone's pulling. But if you don't get her, make sure to make it a priority to shard her as soon as the next Walp comes around. Yes, Rodya is that strong. And yeah, that's about it. If you disagree or have something to add, feel free to leave a comment below, and I promise to read each and every one of those. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like to let me know, and if you want to see more like this, consider subscribing. And don't forget to join the Discord. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon. Goodbye!